The holiday season's just passed, so what better time to make a game than now? When it gets close to Christmas time, a lot of big companies will release their holiday titles, and because of that you see a lot of games come out at once and then almost nothing after. So I've decided to capitalize on the empty gap after Christmas and make a game. The problem is, nobody wants to play games on their computers anymore. What is this? There's too many buttons. So I need to make a game and release it on consoles. The problem is, if you want to publish a game to the Nintendo eShop, PlayStation Store, or probably the Microsoft Store too, you have to sign some crazy license for their SDK, so I'm gonna have to settle for the next best thing, the Game & Watch. This might be harder than I thought. This is the NVIDIA Shield Portable. It's a portable gaming device made by NVIDIA. I know, I couldn't believe it either. It's powered by Tegra 1, which is an earlier version of what the Switch uses. It has a removable backplate for some reason, and it runs Android. I feel like Android is just the easy way out when you're making a console. Like, look mom, I'm a console now. It's definitely easier to repurpose Android, and even the Oculus Quest does it, but this isn't a modified version like the Quest or even newer Shield devices, it's just Android. This does mean a lot of games already work on the device, like Solitaire. And I can also download APKs from websites like Itch.io, so games I own on there I already own on Android like V, Super Hexagon, Switch and Shoot, and Luminous Labyrinth. I know downloading apps from the web isn't anything groundbreaking for Android, but I'm used to iOS where I can't put app icons where I want to. Here. It also comes with a NVIDIA Games app, which is forcibly mapped to the big button in the middle, which lets you stream games you own on Steam, Epic, Uplay, and other services onto your device with varying degrees of success based on how bad your Wi-Fi is. It can also play quite a few emulators, which is good because I never buy a console unless it can run Space Invaders on the Atari 2600. Yes, my standards are that low. But if I want people to get my game, it should be native to the console, meaning I can't just port over Slime Caban or Axolotl Museum, because it has to be an Android APK and it should have full controller support. Yeah, it does have mappers to let you map different parts of the screen to buttons and joysticks on the controller, but... does anyone really like to use those? Put your hand down. If I'm gonna play a game on the console, it should support that console. A lot of games on Android are even on other consoles, so it really confuses me why the Switch version of Switch and Shoot has controller support but not the Android version. It's also not the smallest thing in the world, but it's small enough for me to fit in my pocket. That's gotta count for something. The first thing I did was make a little controller test app to see what inputs I have to mess around with. And yep, that's a controller. Then I started work on the actual game. I decided to make a top-down shooter and started off by making the player. Then I made some bullets which were interesting. I'm no expert, but I'm not sure that's how guns work, or physics. Then I decided to start learning to make basic shaders because too bad, I do what I want. I made this transparency shader that takes in a texture and sets the alpha or transparency based on that. In my plan, you collect coins from killing enemies and spend them on upgrades. I know, really original, but it works well, so I made the pause menu where you upgrade stuff. Then I created a placeholder coin sprite that's supposed to show the amount of money you have that I kind of forgot was placeholder at the end. To make the prices more dynamic and to make you spend more time playing my game instead of the two others releasing in January, I made it so the price goes up by 1.5% whenever you buy something. Then I decided to work on some art which I made in VecMaker because I got that a while ago and wanted to actually use it for something. I made a couple of colors for the base and went on to make some faces. I put a lot of work into this one. The next thing I did was set up a title screen with a random mix of a body and a face on the left side, which I later changed to the current player skin. I also added a little menu to mess with Joy-Con dead zones in case one of them has a bit of drift, which is more than Nintendo's ever done to prevent it. At this point I started really looking into shaders and found this one tutorial for an Earthbound style background by John Topilsky, which I used to make the background. What it does is it takes each pixel and moves it based on a sine wave, which is this funny line that goes up and down. Then it cuts out every other pixel, so it just leaves a bunch of strips of pixels wiggling around. Then I just added another one with an inverted effect. Now this is an Earthbound battle. also made a cursor which uses the same code, but I removed all the important stuff so it just wiggles. Now I wanted to put these avatar pieces to use, so I started working on a little customization menu with a preview of your current avatar on the right, and then a menu to select which pieces you want on the left. And look at this, you'll never believe this. I added a line. I know, I really outdid myself. I tried making the background do a rainbow cycle, but I realized some people have epilepsy and may die from it, but more importantly, it doesn't look that good. Last thing I want is a bad looking game. A death-causing game is a close second. Maybe third. I also did some code that takes what you selected and puts it into a file so that you don't have to remake it every time. Life hack, if you really don't like having a working PC, just type a bunch of random characters into a file and watch it suffer. Next I added a high score to the title because I was really just trying to avoid making the map and coding the AI. And now there's nothing else to do, so I had no choice but to make the AI. I don't actually know how to make AI, so I just made it get your location and move towards it, but that's close enough. I also started working on the map and made a shader that cuts out all the pixels in a grid to make a similar effect to this level in Eat Girl. Yeah, it's really called that. I made an animation to use with it, but I got kinda lazy, and that's why it looks really horrible. So I deleted it almost immediately and decided not to worry about the background until later. At this point I was getting really burnt out of this project and left it to make some other videos. To show you how long I left it for, I started working on this during the summer break. It's January now. Recently I decided I would finish up this project once and for all. I came back and started working on the important elements, meaning the health, enemies, and backgrounds. I added this health bar that sits at the bottom of the screen and shows you your health. Yeah. Next I made some tiles and drew a checkerboard background, as well as changing some of the colors of the walls. When I went back to the game, I realized that the title screen background actually looks really awful, so I took that checkerboard pattern and tried to make it into a background, but with the original Earthbound shader it looks kinda... But I eventually figured out it looks good when you don't cut out every other pixel. Now I finally finished up with the enemies. I made this one that walks towards you and does some damage before being bounced away from you, and another that shoots at you every few seconds.
Okay, that might be a little bit too much.
I figured it out eventually. What I couldn't figure out was what to make them look like, so I just randomized the faces and bases and put them together on each enemy. Then I made these areas which spawn the enemies anywhere in their collision, and anywhere else when they feel like it, but I don't want to fix that. Then to finish up the gameplay, I made a death animation which has the players spin around and the screen chromatically aberrates with another shader I made. Next thing I did is make some sound effects, which I originally did with some real objects like I usually do, but I didn't like them very much this time, and they were giving me a headache, so that's what I titled the game. I also resorted back to just a fixer and a little bit of this thing, Boss-Seal for sounds. And I kidnapped some really cool innocent music from a far different nature, and here it is, playing on the NVIDIA Shield Portable. Okay, I'm bored. The game is available for download even if you don't have a Shield Portable for Windows, Mac, Linux, or Android. All you need is a controller. Like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter if you want. Bye.